What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a little bit of a surprise show, I gotta say. Wasn't expecting an early morning slate again today, or an early afternoon slate, I should say. Early start to the day. We had this weird, tiny schedule. I mentioned it during yesterday's show. Didn't really know how they were going to handle it, and they didn't handle it the same way. Shocker. Different slates across the two sites yet again today. Tiny three-gamer on DraftKings during the afternoon for the two 1 o'clock games and the 4 o'clock game. FanDuel broke it up in a dumber way. They went with a two-gamer for the 1 o'clock games, a Showdown slate for the 4 o'clock game, and then their main slate is the two-game night slate. So we'll have projections up for that one. Won't be jumping back on, I don't think, to do a two-game show later on for that slate, but projections, everything will be up on the site just like it was yesterday. And I figured we'd just jump on and knock out a quick little, 35-minute show. I'm not even going to play this slate, so I wasn't worried about lineups. Figured I would just get on here and talk up until lock. It's Talk Before Lock. Welcome to Talk Before Lock with Terry McBride. Can't say that other show name, obviously. Copyright. But welcome. Good to see you, Cooj. Cujo's here. A couple other people trickling in. Pop-up show. I'm not expecting a huge crowd, but whoever sees it, whoever notices, come on in. Hit the like button as we get started. Not a lot of time at the top of the show here to vamp or anything, so let me pull up the Vegas board here real quick. I don't think anything has changed too much since I put this in just a little while ago. So monster total in Philly, our first 10-run total as far as I can remember over the last week. 10 runs on the board there. Phil's favored in that one. Definitely favoring hitting. The wind is blowing out pretty significantly towards right center. It's a gray, overcast, ugly, on and off, drizzly kind of rainy day here in the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Philly kind of area. Little bit of spotty shower concerns, but nothing that's going to wash the game away. Seems like a great hitting environment there. Colorado, decent run total for them as well. They're going up against Taijuan Walker. It's Antonio Sensatella on the mound for the Rockies, so not exactly a duel of aces there. Charlie Morton on the bump for the Orioles, and Tanner Houck going for the Red Sox. Pretty juicy total in that one as well, 9.5 runs. Definitely can support some offense from two pretty decent offenses, or at least two allegedly pretty good offenses, but capable pitching. And give me half a second, guys. My laundry pickup is here. 1 sec. Be right back. All right, laundry's handed off. We're having a productive morning, gang. I picked this shirt off, if you can tell the wrinkles. This came off the top of the laundry pile this morning. I do not smell good right now. Is what it is. When you're just a DFS nerd sitting in your in your home office all day and you don't interact with too many humans these days, it doesn't tend to matter. Well, that'll be nice. Trey's doing laundry after this. Trey does his own. Yeah, I send mine out. I'm still incredibly lazy that way. I would probably break your washing machine if I tried to use it. So 9.5 runs in Baltimore. Juicy total there, but obviously two more competent pitchers than we've got in that Phillies game. We'll talk about it. And then the Astros and the Twins, that's a cold game. Only 7 runs on the board. Much more interesting pitching matchup. It's Hunter Brown, it's Joe Ryan, two very good righties. Two pretty low totals, but good competent teams on that one as well. So you can fish and maybe draw some bats from that game, but it definitely looks like that one leans a lot heavier toward pitching. It's a little bit bumpy as far as that stuff goes. Getting over the pitching board. So you can see on FanDuel, you do not have access to those top two pitchers. The pricing when we get to that game for FanDuel is the Showdown pricing, but obviously FanDuel, no pitchers on Showdown slates. So your top two options on the pitching board, gone. You don't have to worry about them, but those are the top two projected guys, top two expensive guys on the DraftKings slate. I think most of your lineups, it probably just behooves you to go with one of those guys and then one of the other guys. I don't think we're using much Antonio Sensatella. Even at 6,000, I really don't think there's going to be anything there. Too much threat of Philly's offense, and he's just not good. Never has been, never will be. Haven't really even seen him that much over the last few years. So I don't think we're really messing with that. I do think you can dabble with some Taijuan Walker. It's the Rockies on the other side. Rockies on the road against a righty, even in a decent hitting environment, even against a bad pitcher like Taijuan, you can find your way. And Taijuan, from time to time, will give you a decent start, and maybe keep the ball in the yard. Morton and Houck, I think a lot more of than those two pitchers, but this board goes perfectly in order. Hunter Brown, Joe Ryan is neck and neck, and they are projected basically neck and neck as far as neck and neck as far as their talent. Charlie Morton, Tanner Houck, right in line with one another, I would say. Different ages, obviously, different parts of their career. But I think it makes sense that those two guys are grouped together, and then the guys at the bottom are grouped together. Houck's FanDuel price at 92, it makes sense to have him as the most highly priced pitcher on that four-man slate. You just eat it and figure out how to get there. But you're kind of just throwing darts at pitcher anyway, because there's no real safety in Charlie against Boston. There's limited safety, but Baltimore's actually drawing the higher implied total in that game. So there's only limited safety in Houck. And then you've got the Walker and Senzatella combo. Good luck. So FanDuel pitching today is just a mess. But DraftKings, one of these two guys combined with one of these three guys basically is probably your route. You could do the, Gundacker always likes to talk about, just throw a blanket over the win on a small slate. So you could go with a two-man right there of just Charlie Morton, Tanner Houck, but you're drawing down against probably two of the better offenses on the slate in a hitter-friendly environment. So it's not necessarily great to grab both of those guys in the same lineup, but it can definitely work wonders for your price on a short slate. If these guys go pop, these guys are almost definitely going to go pop. So you might just get the two most productive starts and then let them fight it out and you get the win either way. So I can see that a little bit, but again, it's not like you're not doing that for safety. You're doing it just kind of to angle. Trey likes that Boston-Baltimore environment with bad pitching. I wouldn't call either of those guys bad. This is the game with bad pitching. Antonio Senzatella for the Rockies, 4 1/3 in his first start this year. Walked 2, struck out none, gave up 9 hits to 21 hitters, but managed to get through without giving up a run somehow, which is pretty astounding. You can see the 0 ERA. You can see the 6.38 xFIP, the 0% strikeout rate. And like I mentioned, 12 1/3 innings last year of 13% strikeout ball with 14.8% walks, a monster ERA, gave up a bunch of home runs in the tiny sample, was even worse the year before in 7 2/3 over 2 starts. Going all the way back to 2022, 92 1/3 innings for 19 starts, 13% strikeout rate. This is just not a DFS pitcher. This is just a guy that they have out there filling the role, essentially. This is not a major league pitcher. Pushing pretty decent home run marks toward the Phillies. Schwarber leading the world, 15.94 in the home run model. He's got 3 on the board already. Trey Turner looking good. Bryce Harper looking good. I don't really think we need to sing the virtues of those top 3 in the Phillies lineup. A lot of people are going to have those guys. They're going to be crazy, crazy popular in this game. I do like the idea of the lefty power from the Phillies here, though. A lot of upside there going up against a really weak soft-tossing righty who's going to allow plenty of contact. As I've said, we're looking for plate appearances and contact to a pretty big degree in a lot of this. So if a guy's up there walking the world to a team that can draw walks, putting him on base and setting the table, and then just throwing batting practice where these guys are going to be able to tee off against him, fire away. You just got to figure out how to string it together where you're getting a little bit of potential for uniqueness on a short slate. Home run pick of the day comes out of Philly, but it is not one of the most popular names probably. It's Max Kepler, the power-hitting lefty. He's got 1 on the board already in his Phillies career. I think it's a really good landing spot for him. 4,100, 2,800, love the price. He had a down season last year. Max hit just, 8 last season? 8 in 399 plate appearances with a 128 ISO. Year before, 24 home runs and a 224 ISO. Year before that, it dipped back down to 9 with a 121. It's a little bit on and off in some years, but a lot of it has to do with injury opportunities. Sometimes early in the season, he takes a bump and misses time and never gets it really back. When he's fully engaged and going, he is a legit 20-plus home run hitter. So I like Max here, and I think he's very fairly priced in the Phillies outfield. Alec Boehm is an excellent option at third base, first base, and third base on FanDuel. 3,300 is a great price over there. 4,700, it's cheap. It's actually very effectively cheap in combination with those top end prices, and you're getting a high quality bat. He's a not ideal power bat, but he did hit 15 home runs last year. More a doubles hitter, a very competent sequencing piece, a very competent correlated scoring piece. Did hit 20 home runs 2 years ago, 163 ISO that year, 168 ISO. So that kind of reflects the nature of the hitter. He might get to 20 again, but it's more about the doubles, is more about driving the engine. But Alec Boehm, very competent cleanup hitter in this lineup. Bolting him and Max onto the top three guys, pretty straight line, pretty expensive way to do it, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's an ideal version of this Philly stack. But I do think you can consider any of these guys from the bottom. Nicky Castellanos has a home run on the board. I'm not sure what happened that day, but it must have been pretty major in the world. JT Realmuto, premium catcher. The 17 plate appearances so far, we don't really sweat. He is on the decline from his pinnacle, but he's still very good. 266, 322, 429, a 109 WRC plus last year, 14 home runs. Bryson Stott, interesting little lefty bat, especially, again, against a contact-oriented pitcher. He doesn't drive the ball all that well. 3.6% barrels, 30.8% hard hits, single-digit barrels, 35.2% hard hits the last 2 years running. Still did manage 11 home runs, stole 32 bags while getting on at just a 315 clip. So he can contribute from the bottom of the lineup. He can also get on base, wrap back around to the top. The guy I like a little better for that, though, who I've been talking about for this role for years from down here, is Brandon Marsh. Especially against a weak righty, you get the home run upside out of Brandon Marsh. He does have lefty power. He's got one home run on the board this season. He hit 16 last year in 476 plate appearances at a 170 ISO. 2 years ago, 181 ISO with 12 homers in 472. And what he's really, really good at is getting on base. So that's ideal for a wraparound guy. And at 3,300, 2,800, that's a nice discount. You take him, put him on top of those three, and then I would take probably Max. I'll just fill my outfield with Phillies. That gets me under 5,000, 4,900 on the nose for a stack that includes Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Max Kepler, and Brandon Marsh. That gives me 4 lefty bats plus Trey Turner. It gives me their best home run hitting opportunities. And it's probably somewhat differentiated from the most common Phillies stacks as a 5-man. So I think that's a really interesting lineup to build. Taijuan on the bump for the Phillies. First start of the season for him. Last year, 83 2/3, 15.2% strikeout rate, way too many walks, a 7.10 ERA with a 5.29 xFIP, gave up way too many home runs. Year before that was better with the home runs, kept the ball down a little bit effectively, struck out 18.8, still walked too many, still had a way higher xFIP than his ERA and a just unsustainably high xFIP. A couple years back, it was a little bit better, but he's never been much better than a 1-in-5 strikeout guy, even on a good day. So it's a little bit difficult to imagine Taijuan here. But on a short slate, I think the short slate is the key part of that equation, right? That just pushes his quality up. So even though he's not good, even though he's most likely not going to be good, I think at 7,000 on DraftKings, you can include him in that SP2 conversation. At 81 on FanDuel, you're really playing with fire, but you've only got 4 pitchers to choose from. So he's kind of got to be in the mix unless you're just building one lineup. If you're building one lineup, just use either Tanner Houck or Charlie Morton probably. But it is not a fun pitching day on FanDuel. I just don't expect many strikeouts. I don't expect these guys to go deep into the game. If Taijuan gives you 5 innings of 3-run ball with 2 or 3 strikeouts, consider that a victory. You might pick off the win. I don't hate this Rockies lineup. There are players on this team that I think are pretty good. Brenton Doyle's one of them. He's one of the best center fielders in baseball. He's got a decent bat, a little bit of speed, so he can make some things happen. They don't have Nolan Jones anymore. He would have been on that list. But they do have Hunter Goodman with his big-time power upside. He's got 2 home runs on the board, a 474 ISO over 20 plate appearances this year. Put good bat on ball in terms of barrel rate last year. A lot of appeal there. Hit a bunch of homers in the minors. Michael Talia, you can see the ludicrous premium contact there. 17.2% barrels, 50% hard hits. That's rare kind of contact. So far this season in 20 plate appearances, what does he have? 1 hit and scored 2 runs and a negative 52 WRC plus. In 458 opportunities last year, he blasted 25 home runs, 238 ISO. This is a very real power bat. Tovar is not great. He set a record for whiffs last year. But he's an effective DFS option from up there. 3,800, 3,100. He's not high priced at shortstop. You can bolt him onto a Doyle, Goodman, Talia, and then throw your pick of McMahon, or maybe you don't even need Stallings. Maybe Mickey Moniak for real cheap down the bottom of the lineup. Tovar did hit 26 home runs, stole 6 bases, but the 295 on base is unsustainable. 95 WRC plus. Did have a 200 ISO. So you can pick off a little bit of power upside there, maybe. And he's not expensive. So he does fit into the Rockies stack, but he's probably my least favorite marginally good fantasy player on this team. McMahon's just going to McMahon his way through the season. Again, 10.8% barrels, 49% hard hits last year, similar numbers the year before. Strikes out, but draws his walks. He hit 20 home runs last year. If you remember, he got out to a great start, and it was like, wow, maybe this is the season that Brian McMahon finally put it all together. And he finished right around where he usually does. 23 home runs 2 years ago, 20 home runs last year, 325 on base, 322 on base. It's just Ryan McMahon. But as a lefty in this ballpark against that pitcher with the wind blowing out to right, could be the right day. Nick Martini, Jacob Stallings, Tyler Freeman, kind of mix and match pieces going down the board here. Not all that productive. Not that many plate appearances. You did get a 114 WRC plus over 281 with 9 home runs out of Jacob Stallings last year. So if you wanted an alternate catcher, the issue with that is he'll probably be the less popular choice, but he's 100 more expensive than Hunter Goodman, who's definitely the better DFS play. Moniak's the interesting one down here. Only 2,100. That's a very cheap price. 2,400 on the FanDuel slate. He's in Colorado now because he got DFA'd out of Los Angeles. Technically, going way back in time, this is a revenge game for Mickey Moniak. Was once upon a time drafted in the first round by the Phillies. Was not unproductive in terms of DFS in the right spots the last 2 seasons as a cheap late lineup, limited plate appearances type option. 14 home runs each of the last 2 years in 323 and 418 plate appearances. So that's 28 over his last 700 some odd plate appearances. That's slightly more than a season. But if you actually think about that, that's pretty good. 28 home runs in 700-ish plate appearances. So Mickey Moniak not off the board at 21, 24. You can see it in the home run mark too. 6.53. That's kind of interesting down there. This goes extreme Phillies, then Rockies, and really honestly neither of these pitchers, but it's Taiwan all day over Antonio Sensatella. 20 people out there, mash the like button when you get a chance. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't before. I imagine it's all the regulars out there. By the way, congrats to, yet again, more winners. I think we have had winners every single day so far this season. But looking at the Discord, looks like Tiz had one going in the quarter jukebox that got knocked down to third, but took down $30 or was closing in on it. It looks like that's a not quite done, so we'll see. Not sure where he finished. But had a good lineup in with the logo. Go Blue hit a couple more home run picks. By the way, hit the 2 days in a row with the home runs. We got whoever it was yesterday, Rooker yesterday afternoon. Missed the night one. I threw one up for the night. My Yankees got completely blown away by Zach Gallen. And then Logan Grew, he's been winning pretty nicely early in the season. Took down $2,400. Not bad. That was a FanDuel off of 10 entries in what looks like a decent-sized contest. And then Freaky Meech with another good one. Meech came in and took down $400 in third place on a FanDuel, the FanDuel Upper Deck tournament. So congrats out there, gang. Love to see the screenshots. Love to see the winning. Makes me feel good when I didn't cash a single thing and I pull things up and I say, look at the guys doing well. Love that. Also helps spread the word. So tell your friends. Under $1 a day for access to all the baseball projections, the rest of basketball through the playoffs, the rest of hockey through the playoffs for every main slate. Schwarbs and Goodman, love it. I like those picks, Andy. All right, so Tanner Houck, Charlie Morton. We got to talk pitching in this one. even though it's more, you would typically kind of lean bats with these two teams and with these two pitchers. The nature of this slate makes these pitchers way more important. But you can see the Vegas totals: 4.65 for the Sox, 4.96 for the Orioles. It's not exactly a safe pitching environment. Houck in his first game, 5 2/3, struck out just 2, gave up 4 earned, gave up 2 home runs. He's better than that. Had a shaky spring, only a handful of strikeouts, gave up a bunch of runs through the spring. His last spring start was a total meltdown. He gave up 10 earned on 12 hits over 3 2/3. But that's just, they get out there and throw pitches. That's not real work. So we're not concerned. But as stated, it's not exactly safe. The thing you can get out of Houck, and what we hopefully will get here, is clean innings based on the ability to keep the ball down. 3.9 degree average launch last year, 6.5 degree average launch the year before, 1.48 and 3.02% home runs. This is a little high for that launch. Little bit of happenstance in there, but he also just wasn't as good in 23. Took a big step forward last year, 3.12 ERA, 3.57 xFIP. Not a huge strikeout pitcher, but he can get through clean innings. Again, with the ground balls, the ability to sap power, the ability to limit walks. It's not the greatest ratio in the world, 20.7 to 6.5, 21.4 to 8.9. But he's got the ability to limit opportunities. 1.14 whip is pretty good, especially for a ground ball pitcher. 7,500 works for me. I think even though the Orioles have the higher total, I think I would go Houck. I trust a little bit more his ability to clip their wings here in the power column in the home run model than I trust Charlie's ability to really knock the Red Sox down. And I'm still not going to ding the Sox that much for the fact that Rafi Devers might have retired last year and not told anybody. Charlie's Charlie. I almost said still good. I'm not sure about that. 3 1/3 in his first start, 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 strikeouts. It's certainly not because of that I'm skeptical about what we get from Charlie Morton this year. And he was effective last year, but definitely we saw a downturn. 4.19 ERA, 3.99 xFIP, down to a 23.8% strikeout rate and 11.4% swinging strike rate. That's down off of 25.6 and 12.6 the year before. He's walked too many hitters the last couple of seasons. The whip has been very high, so he's given up a lot of opportunities. And then he's got to tap dance his way out of trouble. And if those strikeouts go away even further, it gets problematic. So, given the nature of the 3-game slate, yes, he's very much on the board. On FanDuel, he's one of the 2 go-to pitchers of this slate. But you have 0 safety in this game. Between the two, I prefer Houck. Even at the higher FanDuel price by $1,000, I think I would draw shares of Houck and just hope that I'm getting ground balls. It's that kind of a slate. We don't have strikeout options. Not one of these pitchers has a good strikeout rate on FanDuel. DraftKings, you get the 2 guys in the next game. If we're looking at bats in this one, which I think is a great idea, Jarren Duran off the top of the Red Sox. Dynamic player, lots of ability to hit home runs, steal bases, 21 homers, 34 steals last year, a 207 ISO, 129 WRC+. Rafi Devers has been getting talked about all over the world. He's got 1 hit on the season, finally put one through the infield, I think, yesterday. And it's been really ugly. I think I talked about it on yesterday's show. Maybe I didn't. But if you look at the swing speed and this fast swing rate, it's been a disaster. It literally looks like he's either hurt or not trying. It's one of those two things. Hopefully it comes around. Hopefully it was just a matter of he didn't get that many swings in during the spring, so maybe the timing just wasn't right. But it's concerning. 5,000, 3,600. The price has come down a little bit on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel, but I do think you still go there if you're stacking Red Sox. And maybe he gets a little bit of a popularity discount because of the struggles. So you might get him a little bit more lightly owned than he ought to be against Charlie Morton on a day like today. So kind of loosely, maybe gives him a little appeal. Alex Bregman, not off to the greatest start in the world. He's had a couple slow starts over the last couple years and then eventually comes around to his numbers. He'll be fine, but 5,200, 3,300, paying a pretty healthy fee for him. I do like the second base, third base positional flex that you get out of him on both sites. Highly, highly stackable player and a priority in the Red Sox lineup. Very low strikeouts, medium walk rate, so a lot of good contact. But he's not the priority of priorities. I like Casas a little bit better for cheaper. Get that lefty bat in there, 3,800, 3,000. Hasn't done anything yet this season, but there's monster power there. 13.3% barrels, 45.2% hard hits last year. Trevor Story off to a decent start. Home run on the board, 2 steals. As stated, first show of the year. I mean, as long as Trevor Story's healthy, we've never seen him be healthy and bad. We've only seen him be injured and absent. Anytime Trevor Story's in the lineup, don't forget how good this guy is. Or was. Wilyer Abreu, a lot of good contact early in the season. Made great contact throughout the year last year. 10.8% barrels, 49.8% hard hits. Didn't really get enough credit for it. 2 home runs out of the gate this season, a stolen base on the board, slashing 500, 650, 1071 over 20 plate appearances. Again, none of those numbers actually matter. But last year was very strong, so it's nice to see him get out to a good start. 206 ISO with his 15 home runs in 447 opportunities. Christian Campbell, their hotshot rookie, signed a big contract, bought out his ARB years and I think 3 free agent years. So he's not going to be a free agent until he's like 32, 33. But they locked him in. He's off to a good start to his career. Got a home run on the board in his career already. Carlos Narvaez, skippable catcher, mix and match type guy for cheap. Sedan Rafaela could get on, make something happen from the bottom of the lineup, but not a great on-base option. A little bit rough on the putting zeros into your lineup. 26.4% strikeout rate last year, just 2.6% walks, so he doesn't get on and correlate with guys. You just need every now and then a good batted ball event out of him. On the Orioles side, the only real issue with facing Houck is that ability to limit power and keep the ball down. But these Orioles can definitely drive the ball. So maybe you get a day of sequencing and doubles and run creation that way, and then into the bullpen and we're hitting home runs again. Maybe you do get a home run or two against Tanner Houck. He's not invulnerable to the home run. Gave up 2, as I mentioned in the first start. But you can see the impact it's having on their numbers. I do realize it's 12:52, by the way. The slate starts very soon. Cedric Mullins, former 30-30 guy, absolute lock into stacks when he's hitting at the top of the lineup. I really like that to start off an Orioles stack. 2 home runs and a stolen base on the board already this year, creating runs 89% better than average over his first 25 plate appearances. Adley got out to a nice start after bumping his way through last year, but still finishing at 19 home runs. This is a good, just if you showed this to somebody from 1972 and said, hey man, this was my catcher, what do you think? They'd be like, wow, that's a really good catcher bat. For Adley Rutschman, that was a little bit of a disappointment. Year before, 20 home runs, 277, 374, 435, a 127 WRC+. A lot of pop in that bat. 35 is correct on FanDuel, and you can play him as if he's a first baseman over there. 49 is a little bit light, honestly, on DraftKings. Jordan Westberg, second and third base eligible, 46, 36 on FanDuel. Very differently priced. This is incorrect. This is more correct. 3 home runs on the board already for Westberg this season. Last year, he hit 18 with a 216 ISO in his 447 plate appearances in a breakout. Ryan O'Hearn's just a solid lefty bat in the middle of this lineup. You can definitely get some Ryan O'Hearn if we're looking for doubles hitters. That is definitely a guy who's on that list. He's cheap. He's a very, very good cog in the machine, but he's not necessarily a priority. You can take one-off shares of Ryan O'Hearn on any given slate, particularly a little 3-gamer like this. He's fine for that, but he's not a gigantic upside guy on his own. But he's a very good piece of correlated scoring in this Orioles lineup. Tyler O'Neill, he was the home run pick from the Orioles, 5-1-3 in the model. He hit that big opening day shot, and then he's been a little bit quiet, but 222 ISO still can drive the ball like crazy. Love Tyler O'Neill's upside as long as he's in the lineup. Houston Kjerstad, Jackson Holliday, Ramon Urias, and Dylan Carlson going down the lineup. Kjerstad, Holliday, 2 big up-and-comers for this team. Holliday's off to a pretty good start, better start than we've seen him over 20 plate appearances, so knock wood for him that he just makes it happen this year. Kjerstad, been a little bit on and off to start his career, but there's talent there. Urias is quietly an interesting 15 home run type guy if he sees enough plate appearances. 24 home runs at 3 positions on FanDuel, 27 at third base. Don't love him just at third base on DraftKings, but on a slate like this, you can definitely get away with it. And then Dylan Carlson, transplanted from the Cardinals. 3 home runs, 2 steals last year in 265. 5 home runs, 3 steals in 255. Part-time outfielder without a lot to offer. Last game up. As of last check, we don't have the Astros lineup. Still don't. So 2 best pitchers of the day come in this game, but they're not available to you on FanDuel, unfortunately. But very highly projected, very talented guys on the DraftKings slate. Hunter Brown, Joe Ryan. Brown, in his first start, struck out 7. Gave up 2 earned, 4 hits, 3 total runs, but went 6 innings. That was against the Mets, so a pretty good offense on the other side. That's a good start to begin the year. So no issues with Hunter Brown. Just how he opened things up. And obviously, again, we're talking about a very talented guy. We don't care if that first game had been ugly. 25% strikeouts last year, 3.49 ERA with a 3.47 xFIP. I like him to take a step forward and maybe strike out more hitters this year. So I really like Hunter Brown going up against a fairly free-swinging Twins team, too. 24.6% strikeout rate last year for this confirmed version of the Twins lineup. Plenty of Ks there. Could be a good day for Hunter Brown. 95 is not a bad price. You can see in the totals, too, with these two teams, 3.42, 3.66 for two pretty good offenses indicates how good the pitching is. Joe Ryan, 5 innings in his first start, struck out 5. Just 1 earned on 5 hits. That was against the Cardinals at St. Louis. Not a bad start. You'd like to see more depth. We've probably got a shot at 6 in the quality start in his second start of the year. Didn't walk anybody in that start, which is great. Solid little strikeout to walk there, and that's what he's good at. 27.3 to 4.3 last year, 29.3 to 5.1 the year before. Keeps guys off base, limits opportunities, induces swinging strikes, 3.60 ERA, 3.44 xFIP, so the underneath was slightly better. Really like Joe Ryan's upside, too. I was high on Joe Ryan in drafts. I had him ranked in our rankings a little higher than a lot of other places. Love the upside for Joe Ryan. So fire away with shares of either of these pitchers. Both of these pitchers in the same lineup. If you can figure out how to build it at the high price, it is perfectly fine to, again, throw a blanket over the win. Let's talk lineups as we round things out in the last 8 minutes of this show before the slate locks. The Astros lineup, assuming we're getting the mostly common lineup. I've done a lot of talking about these 6 guys over the last couple of seasons. Altuve is Altuve. There's nothing to argue with. The talent has not disappeared in any way. Maybe the power is a little bit lighter than it used to be. Maybe he runs slightly less, but it really doesn't matter in a game-to-game sense. He's still outstanding. He's got a homer on the board, 391, 445, 22 start to his season. Isaac Paredes, I meant to check this. First road game for them. So, this would have been a basically neutral park for him as far as that left field home run goes. He would have hit 20 as opposed to 21 per StatCast. 27 as opposed to 30 that he did not hit, but should have, could have the year before. So this is an okay park for Paredes. I don't think it knocks him off the board by any means, but it's a little bit of a power downgrade for him. 8.68 in the home run model. Just as we've talked about, he just benefits from being able to consistently get a little bit of elevation on the pull side and plunk the ball into the left field seats. Doesn't really hit the ball hard. Jordan Alvarez hits the ball extremely hard. He's one of the best hitters in all of baseball. Just ignore the 25 plate appearances so far this year. They mean nothing. Just focus on how great he has been over the last few seasons. Monster home run hitter, major power, excellent ability to get on base, fantastic hit tool. Christian Walker doesn't strike out that much, but they went up a little bit last year, does draw plenty of walks, and has 30-plus home run power. Don't think too hard about it. Just roster some Christian Walker if you're going to Astros. $4,500 is extremely cheap for him on DraftKings. These are showdown prices, so don't worry about it. Jainer Diaz, $4,000, way too cheap where you need to roster catchers. Fantastic hit tool. A little bit of power in there as well. Lurking power. 46.9% hard hits, 43.9% the year before. Doesn't strike out, puts plenty of bat on ball. Big fan of Jainer Diaz. Jeremy Pena is a mix-and-match quality shortstop. A little bit better than that, like a slightly above average. He's a C-plus type shortstop. But he's fine for DFS at $3,500. You can definitely build him in. He's got a home run on the board. He's got a stolen base. He's going to finish around 15, 18 of these, around 20 of those. Just what he does. Cam Smith did really well in the spring and just hasn't done anything over 14 plate appearances since. He's very cheap, does have a little bit of power upside. Mauricio Dubon, Jake Myers are kind of spare parts. You can mix and match your way through shares of those guys if you're building a bunch of Astros stacks. Neither of those guys is a priority. Not a ton of power down there. You did get 13 home runs and 11 steals last year out of Myers. He's probably the more appealing, but Dubon at least gives you the second base eligibility. On the Twins side, Hunter Brown last season kept the ball down pretty effectively. 9.6 degree average launch. Year before, 6.9 degree average launch. Limited barrels, limited hard hits, and exit velo extremely well. And those are not necessarily attributes shared on the other side by Joe Ryan. So you could see a little bit more maybe home run upside if you're just fishing for that out of the Twins side of this one. Or, I'm sorry, out of the Astros side of this one, as is reflected in the model there. And then Hunter Brown maybe a little bit limiting to the Twins home run upside. You do still have Buxton at 8.8, 8.53 from Matt Wallner, who's got tons and tons of power. Buxton hit one yesterday after we talked about him. Not much power showing yet for the Twins outside of the odd 3 home runs by Harrison Bader down there, but you can definitely stack up some of them. Wallner would be a priority for me. That big lefty bat, 3,900 is a great price for a guy with 17.5% barrels and 53.2% hard hits. Carlos Correa continues to be very, very good. Just ignore the 22 plate appearances. It'll come around, and he's going to continue to drive the ball, get on base, create runs, hit the occasional homer. Carlos Correa is very good. Byron Buxton, as stated, tons of power upside, remains a superstar level talent as long as he's on the field. He's just rarely on the field. 4,600 is a great price. Trevor Larnach, 3,600 for all these barrels, all those hard hits, the ability to hit a home run. 5.84 in the homer model. Last year he hits 15 in 400 plate appearances. It's not a monster power hitter, but there is definitely significant ability to drive the ball. All these guys draw walks. They all strike out at pretty aggressive clips, though, too, which could help Hunter Brown push that strikeout total. Again, I do like him to strike out more this year. Ty France, just a line drive hitter. He's low strikeout, low walk, bat on ball type, but not a ton to offer for DFS unless the lineup is really firing around him. Then he can be a cog in the machine. Willie Castro gives you a little bit of interesting power and speed upside, fills multiple positions for cheap on both sides, so I don't mind Castro. Edward Julian has the ability to drive the ball, but also can put you with some pretty big zeros in your lineup via the strikeout. Up and down to the minors the last couple seasons. 8 home runs in the show last year, over 301. 16 home runs over 408 is a little bit more appealing with a 195 ISO 2 years ago. Getting a more consistent opportunity right now due to some injuries and absences. Ryan Jeffers, catcher bat with a little bit of pop, 5.56 in the home run model. And Harrison Bader, mix and match outfielder, but off to a good start. He will finish the season with fewer than 15 home runs. And that's basically your slate, gang, because which is good because it's basically lock. 105 lock today. Morning, swoosh. Swoosh bang. Who are we talking about, Tiz? That hit the ball yesterday, starts every season slow. Bregman? Yeah, if it's Bregman always starts slow. Or at least the last few years. Yeah, I'm not worried about him. The one on the Sox that I'm kind of, and worried is the wrong word, but like at least intrigued to see what happens, is Rafi, just given the major dip in swing speed and fast swing rate so far. But again, super small sample. Who the hell knows? Devers. Okay, yeah. So he's the one I am a little bit more concerned about. But again, the swing speed could come around. He did not get many swings in during the spring. And then there's just all kinds of things going on with, he's in a DH now. He's not going to play in the infield anymore because he's just not that good at it, but he wants to. So there's all kinds of nonsense going on with it too. But I would expect he'll be fine. That's it, gang. Good luck out there. The 2-gamer will be up on the site later on. NBA projections, NHL projections will be up on the site later on. Access all of it under $1 a day. So check out rotoscouts.com. Hit the like button here. Subscribe to the channel if you get a chance before you go away. We'll be back tomorrow for what I'm sure is going to be a much more significant slate and a longer show. Probably somewhere in the noon, 1 o'clock hour if you're looking for it. But hit the notification thingy and it'll let you know. Good luck out there. Somebody go win something. Share those screenshots when you do. I love seeing them. Keep them coming. And we'll see you tomorrow. Later, gang.